It's been a while since I had a good WAP. Not since Farina in Genshin Impact. To make things even better, Cantarella's WAP is Havoc-infused. You surely won't escape Cantarella's glorious WAP, wet-ass playstyle. Cause when she goes into the Havoc waters, they will surely be wet from her gameplay, hence why she is the embodiment of the WAP. I didn't know how many people wanted Cantarella's WAP, but I'm Void Enigma, and I'll be endorsing everything Cantarella, from her kit, echoes, weapon options, and her best teams as of now. I know she is a character that came out of nowhere, so let's get right into her kit and see how she plays. Make sure you like and subscribe if you're enjoying so far, and let's dive. Cantarella is a character that specializes in off-field coordinated attacks as well as some spicy quickswap oriented gameplay. She has the added benefits of an outro buff that increases Havoc damage and Resonance Skill damage, as if we didn't already have enough Resonance Skill damage buffers, am I right? Nonetheless, this allows her to perfectly synergize with specific units, but we'll talk more about that in the team section. So Cantarella's Resonance Skill has 3 versions. The first version is when you use it in her base state and it does some minor Havoc damage. Cool. Her second version is when she enters her enhanced state. So let's talk about that state, dubbed Mirage. To enter Mirage, you need to build up stacks of trance. To do that, you need to do the following. Her intro skill gives her 1 stack, her basic attack 3 will give her another stack, her base resonance skill will give her a stack, and finally her liberation will give her 3 stacks. And briefly touching on her liberation, it's essentially the same as Zhezhi, except it does some nice damage at the start of it, and it will actually just trigger coordinated attacks over the next 30 seconds, but it caps at 21 coordinated attacks. You can also cast this in midair, so it's easy to swap in and use no matter what condition you're in combat. Now let's talk about the Mirage state. You can keep up to 5 stacks of trance, and by entering the Mirage state, you'll be able to convert the trance into shiver stacks. Cantarella's Mirage state is her defining mechanic. When you trigger Mirage by holding the heavy attack, she hovers in midair and gains the upgraded resonance skill that debuffs the enemy and slows them down. When they take damage, they get jolted, dealing big Havoc damage, but only if Cantarella herself attack. If you swap off, you're actually going to remove the debuff and you won't be able to jolt instead. So it's important to actually follow up with a regular basic attack after you cast a resonance skill, and then you can swap off and do your stuff like that. While in the Mirage state, you build up Shiver through basic attacks and dodge counters, healing your team along the way. Once you hit at least 3 stacks of Shiver, her enhanced resonance skill, Perception Drain, will be ready to be triggered for massive damage, draining all of your Shiver stacks. If you get more stacks, you're actually going to be healing more. It lasts for about 8 seconds, and it also ends when you use that enhanced resonance skill, Perception Drain. This is one of the most damaging parts of her kit, and it also allows the enemy to be jolted again. Now, there are some nuances that I did pass over, but many of Cantarella's attacks are considered echo skills, and all of Cantarella's damage is normally considered basic attack damage. The benefits of most of her damage being considered an echo skill comes in with a few passives that she has. Firstly, when she casts an echo skill, she's actually going to be getting Havoc damage, stacking up to 2 times. Second, when she casts her intro skill, she'll actually get a buff that lasts for 25 seconds, and in this state, for each unique echo skill that she casts, Cantarella will recover 6 Concerto. The things that are considered echo skills are the enhanced nuke of a resonance skill in her Mirage state, the regular resonance skill in a Mirage state, and her liberation, as well as her resonance skill. Anything resonance skill as well as her liberation. So you'll be able to get 4 stacks just from Cantarella, and then you'll get 2 from your other teammates for a total of 6 to max out the passive and get as much Concerto as possible. It's not really important to really pay attention too much to this, but just know you can get more Concerto energy by using all parts of her kit. Now that's a lot that we talked about, and trust me, I glossed over a lot of minor details, but that's all that you really need to know. The other aspects are just nuances that just happen naturally, so the TDRL is as followed. Intro into Cantarella and cast her Resonance Liberation, weave in Basic Attack 3 and her Resonance Skill to max out her Trance, hold the heavy attack to enter the Mirage state going straight into Cantarella's WAP, cast her Resonance Skill for extra damage and then spam basic attacks in your Resonance Skill to convert the Trance into Shiver while also healing your team. Then, when you're at max stacks of Shiver, although you can't use it when you're at 3 stacks, you use her finisher, Perception Drain, and then swap off to your main carry to buff them with your intro skill, or outro skill. You'll be doing this all the while quick swapping for a quick swap team, or you could just do it straightforward if you're using her in a more hyper carry playstyle. It's not that complicated once you actually play her, so if my explanation sounded like word vomit, it was actually the elusive WAP that you've always wanted, so make sure to take in this WAP. Now consider liking and subscribing the video, especially if you've made it this far, because you've got to be enjoying it, right? Now let's talk about her echo options, because she has quite a few options. Cantarella has a lot of echo options. Some are traps, but some are actually good options. Let's talk about the many ways to play Cantarella, and this will actually make more sense when we go over the teams, but I'll give you a little bit of information now. Here are her echo options depending on her gameplay style. If you want Cantarella to be a good Havoc sub DPS as well as a future-proof set for her, then Midnight Veil is the set that you want to use. In my humble opinion, it's not her best option today, but for every situation in the future, it will be her best in slot option. There will be a character that can fully utilize her ultra buff, and when that day happens, this is the de facto best set. For this set, the main piece that you want to actually use is Lorelei because it's going to be buffing basic attack damage. If you want Cantarella to do the most damage today without regards for her team, then Sun Sinking Eclipse is the best option. This buffs her Havoc damage by the most, and since all of her attacks are considered basic attack damage, it is a really nice bonus because she can fully use that set. You can also opt to use the set permanently, but just know that in the future it will be outclassed if you actually pick up a future Havoc damage dealer, and Midnight Veil will be better. The main echo for this set is going to be the Nightmare Crownless. If you want to buff the incoming character, such as Zhezhi or Carlotta, then Moonlit Clouds is the set that you actually want to use. Also a really good option if you lack a great weapon for her. She does better damage with a damage dealing weapon, but if you have a cracked main carry like Zhezhi or Carlotta, then this set is going to be really good on her. Now avoid using the Imperial Anthem set. To be honest, the Imperial Anthem set really needs to be buffed or changed because it is never the undeniable best option for a character. Since most of Cantarella's damage is coming from many other sources of her kit, this set is an absolute trap. Don't use it. She's not like Zhezhi, who has most of her damage coming from her coordinated attacks, so stick to the other three sets that I mentioned depending on your situation. Now, she's going to want crit damage or crit rate for the main piece, and she also wants Havoc damage for the elite pieces and attack for the common pieces. Substat priority is definitely going to be crit rate or crit damage first, followed by attack percent or flat attack, followed by a tad bit of energy recharge, the more the better I guess, as you always want her liberation to be up, and then basic attack damage bonus being the last priority. Now, the echo set that you use on her is going to depend on the weapon that you have, and the more damage that Cantarella does, the more she actually wants a set that deals more personal damage, so let's talk about her weapon options. Whispers of Sirens is her signature weapon, and it will be her best in slot for most situations. Big crit damage, Havoc resistance shred when you get 2 stacks of the passive, which is triggered by casting an echo skill, but this weapon is very bad for quick swap, since the buffs disappear when swapping, which is rather annoying. If you want to use her specifically for quick swap, you may want to consider other options because she can actually barely use the passive to actually give her a ton of basic attack damage and Havoc resistance shred. Now, String Master. It wouldn't be a guide about rectifier characters if you didn't involve the infamous String Master being the definite go-to option. This weapon will always be in the top 3 slots when we talk about Cantarella, so make sure to pick it up and use it if you do have it. Talking about the top 3, let's talk about Rhyme Drape Spouts, as it's a really good option for her. She is able to use a resonance skill, and that gets her a basic damage buff, and it stacks up to 3 times. Then when she casts her outro skill, she can get a massive 52% basic attack damage buff that is active for 27 seconds. There's one caveat. The key to activating the buff is to activate the resonance skill within 6 seconds. What you want to do is actually build up the trance, then use her resonance skill, enter the Mirage state with a heavy attack, and from here, you're going to quickly recast her resonance skill from her Mirage state, build up the basic attacks to get at least 3 to 5 of Shiver, and if you're within 6 seconds, you'll finally use the enhanced resonance skill. This will get you 3 stacks, and then you'll be able to trigger her outro, which will get you the 52% basic attack damage buff for 27 seconds. This will make it a better option over String Master if you are able to get that outro buff, which isn't too difficult to pull off, but you do have to play pretty sweaty to get it, although it does come naturally. Lastly, we have Cosmic Ripples, which is actually a very nice weapon on her, basically buffing the attack damage and providing some great energy. A very welcome option, and this is a standard weapon, so it's easily obtainable. As for the 4-star options, she really only has one good choice, and the other one being kinda copium. The Battle Pass weapon augment is great for her, providing a crit rate buff and is easily able to use the passive, and the fusion accretion is the last resort. Not that good overall, but definitely still usable. Those are really her only good options, because the other 4 stars are pretty much, like, really bad. But let's explore Cantarella's teams, because that is where we can actually shake things up a bit. Cantarella is a Resonance Skill damage buffer, and a Havoc buffer, so she fits into a team with any characters that could benefit from that buff. As a Resonance Skill buffer, she works quite well with the likes of Chun-Li, Zhezhi, and Carlotta in a quickswap environment. And as a Havoc damage buffer, she works alongside Havoc Rover Dungeon, and yes, of course, Camellia. But about Camellia, she is not Camelia's best partner, and she never will be. Camellia works exceptionally well with Sanhua and even better with Rochia. And as for the healers, Verena and Shorekeeper will always be a better healer for these teams. With that being said, you can still make a suitable team for the pair. You'll either want to use her to buff up Camellia, or you'll actually use her to buff Rochia, and then Rochia will buff up Camellia, or Dungeon. Both work, but it just won't be her best option. The place where Cantarella shines, well, it doesn't exist yet. There will be a future character that does both Resonance Skill damage and deal Havoc damage, and that is where her potential lies. Until then, she is a fun side grade to existing teams, but there is one team that does have potential, and that's with Zhezhi. She does work great with Zhezhi, and her aerial quickswap gameplay is actually very nice if you're able to utilize it. She is essentially a more quickswap friendly than Zhezhi because she's able to quickswap in air, so if you want to have fun with Zhezhi and Cantarella, it will be a great team. Keep in mind though that Zhezhi is almost always better, and it's really just a side grade, mainly because she's going to be providing more energy, and she's quicker to rotate than Cantarella. You really have to play Zhezhi and Cantarella really in sync together, and their quick swap is kind of hard to pull off perfectly, and the lack of energy generation is really a big deal, especially when Zhezhi can just buff the incoming character by so much, and also fill up her Concerto insanely quick. Cantarella cannot fill up her Concerto insanely quick because she has to be played and go through her whole rotation before she can even outro. Just like Arrow Rover, Cantarella is ahead of her time, by many updates, but at least Cantarella has many existing team options that just work. She's a side grade in all of those teams, but nonetheless she is a competent unit, and she will exhibit tremendous power, and Cantarella's WAP is only going to get stronger as the game evolves. Stay wet, my friends, stay wet. She's fun in quick swap, fun in hyper carry, and even more fun to just float around in water with her flotation devices. Her jellyfish. Yeah, that's what I meant. She is distinctly different from Shorekeeper, although many think that they are one and the same, but trust me, Shorekeeper is tame. Cantarella is wild. Good luck for those Cantarella wanters, and I'm on the fence to get her, so I don't really know if I'll pull for her because I don't have Zhezhi, but still, I know many of you will be looking to pull for her, so good luck to you all. Make sure to subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and thank you so much for watching. We're on the way to get to 10k subs, so leaving a subscribe will really be appreciated because we're almost there, and I have a surprise video once we hit 10k subs. This has been Void Enigma, and until next time, Enigma out.